Hey there, it's Andrew bringing you another Keyforge deck review. This one is going to be of Wirewi, Spawn of Slugseeker, which is Mars, Shadows, and Sanctum. This deck I acquired by trading someone from Australia. I came across this deck searching on decks of Keyforge, and I said, hey, are you interested in a trade? Here's my list. He asked about something in particular. I said, sure, and we sent him. I think, in total shipping costs that it worked out not to be a fantastic deal probably for either of us, but it was fun, and he was just such a nice guy. This wasn't part of the deal at all, but when I opened it up, it included they seemed to be there very intentionally. That he included these little promo cards with it. So thanks, Paul. And I love this community. Just nice people. He just went out of his way to be nice and do something that I didn't expect. So how kind. All right. So this is Wirewi, Spawn of Slugseeker, and I got this around the same time as the last one I did, Gigacycle, and you'll see some similarities, I think. So let's start off with Mars. We have Carpet Flotsam, gain an amber. And if there are no friendly creatures in play, deal 4 damage to each creature. So this, if you don't have a board state, then this does a kind of a board wipe, which is really useful. Almost a board wipe. Ixixli Fixfinger is a 2-power human scientist with 2 armor. Has elusive, and it gives your every other Martian creature, including your opponent's, +1 armor. We have a couple of Mind Warpers here. 2-power elusive Martian scientist. That can exhaust to choose an enemy creature, and it captures 1 from its own side. So slow steal there, pretty good. 1 way to keep your opponents off a key, and anyway, gives us some decent amber control in Mars, assuming we can keep them on the board. Mindworm is a 1-power beast with elusive, and before fighting the creature that it's fighting, deals damage equal to its power to each of its neighbors. So some decent board control there. We have 2 Mother Guns here. Mother Gun's an artifact that exhausts to have you reveal any number of Mars cards from your hand and deal damage to a creature equal to the number of Mars cards revealed this way. That is potentially pretty good. 2 is a nice number. That means if you have 2 of these on the board, well, first of all, this means you're likely to get 1 early. 1 on the board, and getting 3 Mars cards in your hand is pretty good. Having 2 of them on the board and 3 Mars cards in your hand is really excellent. So, or even 2 Mars cards, right? Ping for 2, very nice. Xanthix Harvester is a 3-power beast that can't be used while it has a non-Mars neighbor, but when it reaps, it gains an extra amber. So, yeah, potentially pretty good here. And we have the 1 armor on our scientist if we have the fixed finger out. So, good chance we can kind of sandwich it between those and be okay. Zizix Shockworm is a 3-power Martian soldier that says after an enemy creature reaps, stun it. That's okay. Destroy Them All is an action that has you destroy an artifact, a creature, and an upgrade. This helps us, more help with board control. We also have Uxlix the Zookeeper, who's a 2-power Martian scientist with elusive. After Uxlix reaps, you put an enemy creature into your archives, and if that creature leaves your archives, it is put into its owner's hand instead. And this is, I think, the only archive in the deck. So really anything you archive this way is just going to stay there. It's essentially purged. Quixlix Plaguemaster is a 3-power Martian scientist that after it fights or reaps, you deal 3 damage to each human creature, and this damage cannot be prevented by armor. This is very good Sanctum hate. Notice we have our own Sanctum, so could potentially hurt us a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. And some bad news potentially for some other houses as well. But the fact that it ignores armor is really nice. All right, let's look at our Sanctum spread. So start off, we have 2 Abons, and those are a little sad about the Plague Master. These little things. It's a 3-power human, and it gives other friendly creatures +1 armor, and it can exhaust to give them an additional +1 armor. If you have both of these on the board, then they're each 3 with 1 armor, right? Because they're helping each other out. Blinding Light, gain an amber, choose a house, stun each creature of that house. Nice soft board control. Bordan, 3-power human thief with elusive, and it can exhaust to capture 2 amber. We have a Hallowed Shield, which is an artifact that can exhaust to choose a creature, and for the remainder of the turn, the chosen creature cannot be dealt damage. I have a deck that's pretty good, but has 3 of these, which is excessive. 1 is actually a pretty good number. We have 2 Shield of Justice, which gains you a bonus amber, and then for the remainder of the turn, each friendly creature cannot be dealt damage. Take Hostages gives you a bonus amber, and for the remainder of the turn, each time a friendly creature fights, it captures 1. Barrister Joya, 5-power human knight with 1 armor, enemy creatures can't reap. You'll notice between this and the Shockworm, we're going to make it hard for our opponent to get ahead by reaping. Doorstep to Heaven, bonus amber. Each player with 6 or more is reduced to 5. That's a good way to knock your opponent off forging. I mean, unless there's a Titan mechanic or something like that in play, they're going to not be able to forge. Gorm of Om, good artifact control. It's an artifact with Omni, you sacrifice it, and you can destroy an artifact. Well, you do destroy an artifact. And then this upgrade, Seraphic Armor, it gives a bonus amber, it gives a creature +1 armor, and it fully heals it. What would we want to use this on so far? Maybe Barrister Joya, maybe like Bordan or one of the Abons, maybe the Zookeeper, maybe a Mind Warper. Now, notice we don't have a ton of amber control here in Sanctum, but we do have the Doorstep, which is, that does quite a bit. And then Take Hostages is going to do some good as well. Take Hostages with Shield of Justice, if we have 2 or 3 creatures out, we only have 4 in Sanctum, but let's say we have 2 out and ready to go, that's going to do good work. But really the Doorstep is the major amber control in Sanctum. In Mars, we have the 2 Mind Warpers to do work. All right, and then lastly, we have Shadows. Now we have 2 Bad Pennies here, and why would I get a deck with 2 Bad Pennies? Well, I don't love Bad Penny. It's a 1-power human thief that when it's destroyed gets returned to your hand. But you'll see there's at least one card that can kind of take advantage of this, and so I don't think it's so bad. Also, with if you have the 2 Abons out, then Bad Penny's less likely to just get bounced to your hand, so it could be more okay in that circumstance. Furtive Investors gives you a bonus amber, and then says if your opponent has more amber than you, you gain 1 amber for each key your opponent has forged. So potentially up to 3 amber total from this card if you get it at the right time. Miasma gives you a bonus amber and says your opponent skips the forge a key step on their next turn. Very nice way to drag the game out an extra turn, possibly getting you a win. We have 2 Ronnie Risk Clocks here. That's a 2-power Elf Thief that after it's played steals 1, but if your opponent has 7 amber or more, steal 2 instead. Really nice, really good way to keep your opponent off of forging, potentially, and swing your own amber up substantially. Throwing Stars deals 1 damage to up to 3 creatures, and then you gain an amber for each creature destroyed this way. And the Bad Pennies are pretty good for that. Drop them on the board, do that, and then if you want, you can discard them. Could even get your Mind Worm that way, although maybe your opponent has some creatures you need to deal with that way too, and that could be pretty useful. Brend, it's a 3-power Elf Thief. It has Skirmish, and when you play it, your opponent gains 1, but when it's destroyed, you gain 3. I always say, how are we going to deal with this? Well, if it already has 2 damage, you can kill it with the Throwing Stars, but also you can pretty easily kill it with either Destroy Them All or Mother Gun. So you have pretty decent options in Mars for dealing with the Shadows, or with the Brend. And so that means it's fairly likely that you can have a turn where you play it, and then on the next turn be able to kill it with Mars. Very likely. We have a Dusk Runner. It's an upgrade that gives a creature Reap, steal 1. I love to put Dusk Runner on Brend if I get the chance, because that actually takes the pressure off me to have to get rid of it. At that point, if it reaps, it steals 1 and gains me 1. and if they kill it, then I steal 3, and that's a pretty good deal. Dusk Runner could also be good on the Zookeeper, although that you're just making it more likely that your opponent wants to kill it. I wouldn't want to put it on the Xanthix Harvester. That'd be really powerful, but the likelihood of it getting stuck, unable to do something, is a little rough for me. I guess it's not a terrible plan. Maybe put it on the Fixed Finger, which actually has pretty decent survivability because it's 2 power, 2 armor, and elusive. So they have to do 4 direct damage to kill it, or else attack it twice, and the second time with something at least 4. So pretty potentially useful there. And then our last 3 cards here are all too much to protect. That's silly. So too much to protect gains you a bonus amber and says steal all but 6 of your opponent's amber. In the last deck, I was talking about Giga Cycle. I mentioned both games that I lost. The one too much to protect in that deck was in the last 4 cards in the deck. That isn't going to happen with this deck. I'm going to have it at some point. So that's a lot. That's a lot of those to have. Pretty crazy. Now, of course, if it just always pushes to 6, then you don't get much use out of that. But if they're just going to 6, then you have a good chance to get them with Ronnie. You can miasma them so that they then go up, and then you can too much to protect the next turn. You can doorstep them to drop them to 5 so that you can do a follow-up turn where you too much to protect. You can Mind Warper them and get to the point where you're going to have a good too much to protect turn. So I think there are lots of options here to do good work with the too much to protects. And with 3 of them, you're likely to have them at the right time, or at least that's my theory. So I'm pretty excited. I ended up taking the other one to Chainbound on Monday, but I'm looking forward to bringing this one around as well, and see what I can do with that. See if I have better luck with 3 too much to protect. And again, this was like a trade that we worked out, so 1 for 1 on decks, and the one I let go of, it was good, but not insane, I don't think, although maybe he'll take it to ride it to the top of a vault tour, but and good luck to him if that's the case. I think this is like a solid deck, not top tier, but solid, and I'd say the same about the one I traded. So I think we're both pretty happy and had a good experience, so thanks, and maybe I'll get to see you online or in person with this deck. Until then, I hope you enjoyed the video, and happy forging.